Hello everyone, Kevin Jaffe, Chief Operating Officer here at Mopeka. Today I'm going to go through the installation of an exciting new product called the Pro200. The Pro200 was created for mainly the RV and marine industries. In the RV industry, we're looking to actually install these on freshwater, gray water, and black water tanks, as well as in the marine industry and in certain scenarios, fuel within the marine industry. The Pro200 is used on a variety of different styles of tanks. From our older style tanks and RVs, such as this one, all the way to our ones over in Europe, or even used in the more current styles that you'll see in RVs and marine industry, this type of style right here. So now let's go through which comes in the kits. We currently put out two kits. The first one is our Mopeka Pro200, and then the Mopeka Pro200B. Let's go through the differences of those two. So the Mopeka Pro200 is our original. This is a hardwired version. So when are you going to use something like this? You're going to use this in an RV or marine application where you actually have 12-volt power to be able to wire this into. You'll see that there's 3 cables here. Let's go through what those are. Your red is going to be your power, your black is going to be your ground, and then for future use, we have a blue wire here. This is for data. The future uses could be anywhere from tying this into a control system or wiring this to a bridge display. Okay, so if you have an application where you actually have power nearby, you're going to go ahead and use this. If you don't have power, don't worry, we have an option for that too. We have the Mopeka Pro200B. This currently runs on 2 CR2032 lithium-ion batteries that are replaceable. Okay, both of them have the same specs in terms of the size of tank that you can put these on and application. The only difference between the two is obviously the power options. Now that we've gone through the two different types, let's go through what actually comes in the box themselves. So in the box, the first thing you're going to see is your Mopeka instruction pamphlet here. And then the next thing you're going to see is your utility bag. And in the utility bag, you're going to have your 3M adhesive activator, as well as 3 mounting screws. So before we actually get to the hard installation, we have to do a couple prep things before we do so. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to grab your smart device, and you're going to download the Mopeka Co-Pilot app, either from the Apple iStore or the Google Play Store. Today, we're going to use an iPhone. The next thing we need to do is figure out exactly where to drill the hole into our tank. So what we try to advise our clients to do is install it on the highest point of the tank if it's in a regular size tank. If it's symmetrical like this, what we also want to do is we want to be 3 inches off either a corner or from dead center. And if you look at this tank, we've gone ahead and pre-drilled a hole here. As you can see, we are exactly 3 inches from dead center away from this wall. So we've gone ahead and drilled our hole and we're ready to actually start the installation. So now we're going to talk about starting the actual setup and installation. And it's going to depend totally on which type of Mopeka Pro200 you're using. So if you're using the Pro200, the original, that's a hardwired power version, you're going to go ahead and connect the red wire to the power and the black wire to the ground. Now, when you do so, this is going to transmit itself for 5 minutes. During that 5-minute period, you need to have your Co-Pilot app open and ready to pair with the sensor. After that 5 minutes, it will go into a non-broadcasting mode, and therefore your Co-Pilot app will not see it for the pairing instruction. Should that happen, all you need to do is remove the power from the red wire, wait 20 seconds, and reconnect, and it will start broadcasting again for another 5 minutes. For today's installation, we're using the Mopeka Pro200B, which is a battery version. This one also will only broadcast for 5 minutes. However, on the back of this, there's a little magnet, and once you remove the magnet, it now starts broadcasting, and that wakes it up from its sleep. That is how it's shipped to you, the consumer. Once again, if you're unable to pair it in that 5-minute period, just simply take the magnet, put it back on for 20 seconds, and then take it back off again. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open up our Co-Pilot app. And we're going to be greeted with the entry screen, welcome to Co-Pilot. If you've never installed this before, if you have, maybe you have older sensors from your barbecue or whatever, they'll show up here. But we're going to be pulling our attention to the tap here to add new sensor, or the bottom right-hand corner plus button. But before I do that, I'm going to take the magnet off the Pro200B. Now it's going to be broadcasting. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit the plus button. And as you can see here on our screen, it's gone ahead and found our sensor. So I'm going to go ahead and hit setup. And what this is going to do, it's going to establish a connection between the sensor directly to your smart device. So now it's done that, the first step we have to do is give it a name. Now we have some suggestions here and you can pick those, or if you wanted to, you can just X out here at the top and you can put in whatever name makes sense to you guys. Freshwater, gray water, black water. Today we're going to do RV Tank 1. So now that that's been filled out, you'll see that the confirm button at the bottom of the screen is now turned dark green. This means you've fulfilled the requirements for that step and you can actually go to the next step. This way the system kind of stops you from yourself possibly missing a step. It's going to take you through each and every step properly. So let's go ahead and hit confirm. Now we actually have to put in the dimensions of the tank and the style of the tank. Now by default, there's going to be numbers in here, so don't get worried. We've got to put in the dimensions of our tank here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the tank. This is a vertical top down, not a horizontal top down, not a vertical. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change that. We're going to click in there and change that over to horizontal top down sensor and hit done. The next thing we're going to do is we need to put in the dimensions of the tank. And as I said before in the earlier part of the video, we need volume and we need diameter of the tank. Now you'll see that there's a max fill height and an inner diameter height. When you're dealing with symmetrical tanks like this, the tank height, max height, and the inner diameter should be the same. So for this case, we're going to go ahead and put in 8 inches. And the inner diameter will also be 8 inches because the sensor is flush with it. However, if you have an irregular style tank, or let's just say the sensor was mounted about 2 inches above this tank, what we would end up doing is we'd put the max fill height at 8 inches, but we would say that the sensor or the overall diameter is 10. And what that'll do is it tells the sensor not to count those last 2 inches because it's offset. So, but for today, it's 8 inches high, 8 inches in diameter. Our volume is next, and we said this was a 6-gallon tank. And we're going to leave the fill percentage at 100. I'm going to hit done, and we're going to go ahead and hit next. This is the step where we do the soft installation. So before we actually put screws or we activate the mounting tape, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take our sensor and we want to put it down into the hole. We want to know that it's in the right position and it's not going to give us a false read. The other thing that we're going to advise you is that during this step, you want to have a little something in the tank. Because when you install something like this, it's very hard to tell the difference between an empty tank and an improper installation. So for today, we have a couple inches in here. I think at least a ½ inch to an inch. So we're going to go ahead and just put it in here. And while you're doing this, you're going to be looking at your Co-Pilot app, and you're going to want to go ahead and get this as level as possible. And you want to get those quality stars up as high as you can. So I'm just going to go ahead and move this around a little bit until I get to the right level where my quality is high and I'm as level as possible on this tank. Once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and hit confirm. And now we're done. We now know the location of where to put this, the angle and orientation of it, and it's now set up within our system. The next steps will be to turn around and set some of the features of the Pro200. So now that we know where we're going to actually install the sensor, let's go ahead and actually do the hard installation and make this thing permanent. So I'm going to go ahead and take the sensor out of the hole. I'm going to go here to my Co-Pilot app, and I'm going to click on the sensor itself. And I'm going to scroll down to the sensor positioning because we're going to use that as we're putting it onto the tank. But next, we're going to go ahead and take our sensor, and you'll see that there's a 3M sticker on here. We're going to go ahead and pull that tape off, let that be exposed. At the same time, you're going to go ahead and take your 3M primer stick, and there's a little glass tube in there. You'll shake it, crack it, turn it over, let the material soak the tip of this, and then we're going to liberally put it onto the tank around the hole. Then you're going to take your sensor, and using that leveler, you're going to go ahead and put that right back onto the hole where it was before when we did our soft installation, making sure that it gets into the right sensor positioning, and then waiting for it to update within our Co-Pilot app. And there it is. We have 3 stars of quality at the top. We are as level as we're going to be. And as you can see, this is an 8-inch diameter tank, and we're showing that there's 0.4 of an inch in the bottom of this tank. So highly, highly accurate. And now we're fully installed here. Now we can move to the next step, which is setting up notifications and other configurations. So now that we have our hard installation and our sensors permanently mounted, there's a couple other features of the Mopeka Pro200 you can set within the Co-Pilot app. So we're going to go ahead to our Co-Pilot app here, and I'm going to click on the RV tank 1. And that's going to bring up a very familiar screen that shows your battery, your quality, the Bluetooth, and the height and volume of your tank. What we're going to do next is we're going to go into the right-hand corner to the setup wheel, and we're going to click on that. And you're going to see some very familiar information. So here's where you can actually change the device name if you need to. If you're installing it on another type of tank and you've upgraded your RV Marine, you can go ahead and change dimensions here. So that way you don't have to restart the process. But let's go down to the part that is new, which is the quality filter and quality threshold. Let me talk about the quality threshold first. Because we've designed this sensor specifically for RVs and marine industry, more times than not, those vehicles are in motion. And the sensor can take a read during that time. So, but if the material's in motion, you may get an erroneous read. So we have a threshold filter here that allows you to set that to throw those reads out so that you don't get false alarms. So let's go through what that is. So if I click on the quality threshold, we have a couple options here. These represent the stars. So in our system, we measure quality of the sonar up to 3 stars. So what I would do here is I would say if I set it to 1, that means that anything that I tell the system to do that's below a 1-star quality or 1 star and below, it will turn around and do whatever I tell it to do, which we'll talk about in the next step. Or I can turn around and set it to 2 stars or even 3 stars. But I'm going to set it for 1 today and hit done. Now I'm going to go to the part where it says quality filter right above that. And this is where we're going to tell the Co-Pilot app what to do when that threshold is triggered. So I'm going to go ahead and click on quality filter. And that brings up a couple options here. And I can have it as disabled, which means it does absolutely nothing and gives you the erroneous reads. If that happens, you run the risk of having a false alarm or a false alert during your notifications. However, some of the options you can choose from is that when you have a low quality read, show it as 100%. Once again, that can and probably should trigger a false alarm, which you don't want. Or you can show it as your next option, which is show it as 0. That might be okay. Most of the time, we advise our customers to show it as just a dash. Don't show me a high, don't show me a low, just throw out that number. So if I leave it at that, what it's going to do is anything below a 1 star, it's just going to show up in the system as 2 dashes and not trigger any alarms or any alerts. Or your last option, which is the last good value. So instead of showing you a dash or anything, it'll just show you the number that was previously read the last time you checked in. Okay, I'm going to leave it as the 2 dashes for now, and we're going to go ahead and hit done. So now I've set up what reads I want to be counted and which ones I want to be thrown out. Moving down a little further, you can see that by default we have it set to percentage, but you do have the options to switch it over to centimeters or inches. Or if you're part of our European community, within your Mopeka profile in the system here, you can change that over to metric, and then you'll have liters and centimeters. Okay. The next part, which I think is really important, is the sensor update rate. Now, by default, it's going to be set to 3.5 seconds. This is going to be important depending on which type of sensor Mopeka Pro200 you're using. If you're using the regular Mopeka Pro200 that's hardwired, you can leave it at every 3.5 seconds because it's not going to make a difference because it's hardwired. However, if you're using Mopeka Pro200B, which is battery powered, this is where you can actually lengthen the lifespan of your battery by taking that slider and moving it to the other end and saying, I want it to only read every 30 seconds. And that'll give you the full battery life. But once again, they are replaceable batteries, so you don't have to worry about it being disposable. So since we're using the battery, we're gonna leave it at every 30 seconds. The next thing, and you're gonna need a Mopeka login, which you would do at the front screen of the Mopeka Co-Pilot app, but if you have a login, then you can actually set up notifications. And by hitting the switch there, I now have turned on the notifications, and now I can tell the sensor what to let me know and when to let me know it. So we have 2 options. We have anything that goes below a certain number or above a certain number, and that's going to depend on the type of tank you're installing it on. So when we do freshwater, we want to know when it goes below a certain percentage, but if we're dealing with black water or gray water, we want to know when it goes above a certain number, okay? So for water today, I'm going to say I want to know when it's going to be below, and I'm going to take the slider and move that down to 20%. Okay? And when do I want to get notified? That's the next threshold. So I can click on that, and I can have the choice of every 6 hours, 12 hours, once a day, every 3 days, or every week. By default, it'll be every 6 hours. Okay, so now I've set this water tank up to let me know when it hits 20% or below, and it's going to update me on that every 6 hours. Moving further down, we have a couple other options. So the first one is the power saving mode. By doing this, it puts it back into a sleep mode that you're not going to be able to take out of unless you still have the magnet and be able to reactivate it again. We tell you pretty much that's not necessary. The other one, though, is if you end up removing it from one tank and you do want to start over again with a fresh installation, you can go ahead here and hit forget device, and it will remove this Mopeka Pro200 from your Co-Pilot app. Okay? But now what we're done, we've set up all the additional notifications and thresholds that we can. We can hit the back button in the top left-hand corner and go back to our screen. The device has now told us that it's been updated with the new information of when to notify us and how to notify us, and our installation is done. Enjoy.